Hey everybody, Alan here. Real quick, we had some technical difficulties with Ryan's microphone during this episode. We apologize for the lack of sound quality, but we figured the conversation's good enough that you'd still want to hear it. So we apologize for that. And anyway, here's the show. Hey everybody, welcome to a very special episode of You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today we're going to do the same thing we did for Halloween, but for Christmas this time. We're going to each talk about one of our favorite holiday-themed episodes from some of our favorite TV shows. And to start things off, we're going to talk about an episode of Futurama that Ryan picked out.
This episode is called The Tale of Two Santas. It is from like middle of the road season, so it's like season 5, season 6, around there. I'd actually told you guys to watch a different episode at first because I got confused, and luckily I got to both of you in time because I almost gave you guys the worst Christmas special to watch that Futurama ever
Aw.
did. But anyway, the episode in question has to do with Bender taking over the role of Santa Claus for a year. Um, and normal Futurama hijinks ensue, and I just kind of want to know what you guys think before I go into why I selected this one for this episode.
I enjoyed it. Like, Futurama is one of those shows that I don't watch religiously, but I've seen all of it.
Yeah,
Like, it's one of those ones. I like Matt Groening a lot. I'm a bigger fan of The Simpsons. We've talked about this before on the show.
yeah,
To the point where I almost picked Simpsons roasting on an open fire for this.
Yes.
But no, I enjoyed it. Like just seemed like a typical episode of Futurama, though.
yeah.
So
But it was just deep fried in Christmas cheer. It was
Yes.
just deep.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of what I liked about it, where it did a good job of taking the standard, like, Christmas special trope of, oh no, Santa can't do Christmas. Someone has to do Christmas, and literally turned it on its head, where, like,
Yeah.
Bender tried, but ultimately Christmas was about fear, and that's what united everybody. Wasn't love or joy or Christmas spirit, it was fear of Christmas spirit. And I love that.
And one of the best things that I like about Futurama and Christmas in general is that they take the whole like abbreviation of Christmas, like the modern like Xmas, and they
Yeah.
turn that on its head. Like in Futurama, Xmas is Christmas, and
Yep.
instead of Santa being this like joyful guy that gives everybody gifts, he's a robot that misread its own programming and judges everybody to be naughty and goes out and tries to kill everybody that it can. The very first Christmas special that they had set this whole thing up, where like
Yeah.
Fry and Leela get stuck outside of the Planet Express building and they have to like fight off Santa. And there's like a
Yeah.
Tiny Tim robot that also plays a part in it as
Yeah,
well.
I remember that one.
There's a parrot too, but I digress. This one has to do more with like Santa's workshop. How did you guys feel about actually going to Neptune and seeing the North Pole and the abused workers?
I mean, it just reminded me of an Amazon warehouse.
Too soon.
Yeah. Now,
I thought it was cool.
yeah. What did you guys think of the Batman-style sheeting over the building?
Oh, I like that. Like the
Yeah.
Batmobile from Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Batman. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's little things like that that make me like the show, and there's just they're all throughout.
And I like that they just kind of locked Amy outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I
think
just like all the I like all the little like they do like a lot of kind of callback one-liners in this that make me like I don't know that I really appreciate about this show. Like when Bender was gonna get magnetized and he starts singing folk songs.
Yes.
I think that's a fun running gag and I'm glad they keep doing it.
my favorite gag in this is just Zoidberg as Jesus.
Yes. That's that that clip is iconic when it comes to Futurama. Like
Is it?
Zoidberg as Jesus, like that's a big thing. Like I've actually seen bumper stickers with Zoidberg as Jesus. It's kind of like the Buddy Christ thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's if you ever see that on the back of a car, that's like deep-seated Futurama fandom. The reason why though that I picked this specific one and not any of the others was simply because it actually feels like a true holiday special, something
Yeah.
that would actually fit. And I mean, it's a comedy, so you've got to give it some leeway. But I feel like this episode specifically fits into the whole it's something that I could see a family watching for Christmas. A
Yeah.
family that has an odd sense of humor. I can see this being a thing. Um, the episode that I accidentally told you guys to watch should never be a thing.
Is it that bad?
It's what it feels like to me. It feels like because it's three separate stories, and they set
Okay.
it up like it's a special. And they say a few times the Futurama cast is going to be back and do another Christmas story. It's weird,
Ah,
but the first story is actually a decent summarized idea for a full episode.
uh-huh.
And then the other two stories feel like a cutting room floor storylines.
Oh,
So
not the
I
same
feel
quality.
yeah, so I feel like the first one was supposed to be a full episode, and then they were told that somewhere in the process, be like, oh no, we wanted this to be a special. We want multiple stories, not just one. So I feel
Right.
like they put a lot of effort into the first one because that was supposed to be a full episode, and then they chopped it down so that they could throw in two more stories real quick. It feels rushed. The other stuff in that season's fine, and it's in season 7. And all the other episodes in that season are great. It's just that one just feels really rushed, and I think it's because they weren't expecting it to be 3 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think my favorite joke in this whole episode, which is a classic Farnsworth joke, is now that the evil robot Santa can't get us here, unless any of us are stupid enough to leave this house. In a related matter, you'll all be delivering a sack of children's letters directly to Santa at his death fortress on Neptune. That's that's such a great joke, and
It is.
that's the kind of joke that I love Futurama for, and that's why it's one of those shows that if it's on and I'm at a hotel or have access to cable and just am flipping channels, I will stop and watch Futurama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, and it's just
Yeah.
for some reason I really connect with a lot of the characters on it, and that's why I'm with Futurama the way you are is with The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
I just really connect with it.
Yeah.
Farnsworth reminds me of some older family members that I used to know when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I have constant Fry moments, so I really connect with Philip.
And you did a Fry and Leela cosplay for a con once.
Exactly. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so I mean, it's just the show in general and the jokes and the running gags. I love the fact how they keep just Devin, you brought up about how whenever he gets next to a magnet, he loses his inhibitions as if he was drunk and he starts singing folk music. I absolutely
Right.
love that every single time. It's great, and I love the fact how they have Santa as being this murderous robot.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so I was thinking about this because Futurama has the same kind of B-level cast as The Simpsons do.
Yeah.
The cast that keeps popping up. Who is your favorite kind of B-level cast member that showed up in this one? So you can't do Fry, Leela, or Bender, or Farnsworth even, but there was still enough of the kind of side characters that keep showing up that I love. And one of my favorites popped up again, and that was Lawyer Chicken. I love every time he's on Futurama, and it's one of my favorite things.
I love that how he just went over to his briefcase and just had a bunch of chicks in there.
Right?
Didn't Scruffy show up in this one?
Yeah,
Scruffy
he
was
did.
in this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Scruffy's probably one of my go-tos.
Mine's
the
the
best.
judge.
The judge.
Mine's
The
the,
judge.
stereotypical wasp judge.
Yep.
Because one of my favorite lines of his is from the one where Bender and Fry go to the robot insane asylum because they
Yeah.
get accused of stealing from a bank when it was somebody else that did it, and the chicken says that they were in a bank, and
Yeah.
and the judge stops the proceedings, and he says, "Hang on 1 second, I gotta inquire about a bank." And he looks over to somebody and goes, like, "What's a bank?" And then somebody has to tell him, "Oh, it's a place where poor people put their money for safekeeping, because the judge is so rich that to him, like, like saving your money is investing it or like buying property. Like he's so wealthy, he's never actually been in a bank." Like it's just those type of
Aw,
jokes. Like I absolutely love the judge.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I think he's an underrated character for me because I don't think too much about him when he's on screen, but I need to start paying more attention to him. For
Oh,
me, Giant Chicken Lawyer steals the show every time.
Yeah.
oh, it is, and because they use him a few times, especially
Yeah.
early on in the series, and he's great, and he's great, and he's always against them. Like he's never for them,
Right, exactly.
and that's the best part. He's always against them.
And they do good enough gags with him that it's fun.
Oh yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to touch on with Futurama before we move on to Devin's episode?
It was wonderful.
I, I'm I'm good.
Okay. Ryan's trying to hold back from just talking about Futurama the whole time. But
to be honest, I really am. I really am trying to really
well,
hold it
if you
back.
keep the Futurama segment short, I'll keep my segment short too, because I can talk about my show for a long time. Uh, all right, so moving on from Futurama, we travel back to the past to Princeton Plainsboro Hospital and House.
Yeah. So my episode is from season 4. It's episode 10 of House called "It's a Wonderful Lie." It's their Christmas episode, but oddly enough, it aired on January 29th, 2008. I don't realize these when I pick these, but I pick shows that I remember fondly, or episodes of shows I remember very fondly that critics just didn't like. It got a B, but it got rated the worst episode of TV for the week because of the role of the prostitute in it,
Oh,
in that whole side plot. We'll get into that later. But some critics have hailed it as more shameless Apple commercial and the frequent use of MacBook ads in the breaks than actual Christmas episode. So, guys, I picked a good one for you.
The critics can take their opinion and shove it up their ass.
I agree. So here's why I picked this. I'm going to jump right into that, and then I want to talk about what you guys thought. I picked this one because I loved House so much when it was on air. I bought Hulu specifically to finish out House. That's the only reason I got Hulu, and it just stuck because I got too lazy to cancel it. I loved this show. I haven't seen a single episode of it since the last episode aired. In my mind, it's this like warm, fuzzy show that's so cool and so edgy, and I wanted to know if it held up. And part of why I picked this one is because I remembered like the whole like mom and daughter couldn't lie to each other, and I was like, oh my god, House has this thing with lying, and yeah, this is the Christmas episode. And I want to know what you guys thought before I let you know what I thought of it.
okay. So right off the bat, I watched House 2. I haven't really watched it since it ended.
Yeah.
But instead of just buying Hulu, I bought every episode for the last few seasons on iTunes.
Oh yay.
So I have like a bunch of House on my phone that I can access. This is not one of them.
Aw,
But
damn.
I almost had issues finding it, but it worked out.
Good.
I was not sure which season of House this was. I was not expecting the second team to be there. Like I thought this was still going to be
Yeah.
like the original House team. So
Yeah.
it was a surprise to see 13 and Cutter and the other one that I don't remember his name.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Uh,
yeah, and not to state the obvious on about that, but this is like right after he got Cuddy to be like, this is my team, like this
Yeah.
is who I want,
Yep.
and this is where she lets him take one more person than what he's supposed to.
yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I wasn't expecting that. It was nice going back to this show. It's not one of like I'm not a big procedural guy anymore.
Yeah.
But House is such a great character and so fun that I just like Hugh Laurie in anything. So the fact that he
Yeah.
has a new show coming out on HBO next month, the
Does?
Yeah, it's that Space Cruise one with him and Josh Gad and
A live action Wally. Prior to them all getting fat.
yeah,
Interesting. All right, I'm about that.
from the guy who created Veep. So, I forget what it's called, but no, it was nice to go back and revisit this show. I know Ryan has thoughts on this as well, so
I can't wait.
Ryan.
Okay, so my experience with House, I watched it when it was on religiously up until the season before he goes into the insane asylum, prior to him driving the car through Cuddy's house. So
Yeah.
I stopped watching it around there just because I don't know what happened. Like I lost interest,
Life happens.
whatever. Yeah, it happens. And so I saw commercials for it, and like now he's in jail and mental asylum. I had no idea that he drove through the Cuddy's house with the car. So I was like, well, this is a weird jump, and I just decided not to catch back into it.
Yeah.
But Kristen was also a big fan of House prior to us meeting. So so as soon as we got Hulu, we watched the rest of it. And I got sucked into those final seasons to the point where we bought it on Blu-ray. We have the whole show on Blu-ray. And on top of that, it's one of those shows that like Kristen falls asleep to. So I see it almost every night. And I have for like the past couple years. And this is probably my second favorite Christmas episode.
Okay. What was your most favorite?
The one with the dwarfs.
I don't know if I remember that.
You don't remember that one?
No, but you gotta remember we watched like how many seasons was House? 8 seasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's what I believe that this one happens around Christmas. The one that I really like has the one where the mom's a dwarf, and so the
Good setup. Let's keep going.
and the daughter has an issue with growth. And she's like 13, 14 years old. So everybody just assumes that she has a form of dwarfism. And House finds out that her condition is that she doesn't have dwarfism, she has a tumor in her brain that's preventing her from growing. So it's this whole ethical thing between the mom and House of like, you know, like it's your decision to get this tumor removed so your daughter can have somewhat of a normal, quote unquote, normal life. But the daughter's like, but this is who I am. And so it's this huge debate on back and forth of like what it should be. It also sets up one of my favorite back and forths between House and a patient, because it's the mom and he's making a bunch of like
Lollipop Guild jokes.
Yeah, about like them like having sex. And he says something and she turns around and goes, no, I go on top and I spin. And, and House just looks at her with this like adoring look on his face, and she just gives him like a kind of just like just like this half smile, and the daughter is sitting there in the room, and she goes, "Oh, mom, gross."
All right,
That's part of what I do like about this show, though, is like the dialogue is so good.
it is. Yeah, and they do a great job of just showing how much of an ass House can be, but still making him likable. Real quick,
I feel like that's tough.
Real quick side note: just looking at the trivia on IMDb. If you scroll down to the bottom, they have the diagnosis. And I'm wondering if they do this for every episode of House. Like, I feel like somebody went through and put the diagnosis from each episode of House in the IMDb trivia.
That's really cool.
So, one of my favorite aspects of this whole episode was the Secret Santa.
Yes.
Which is, I'm glad I think is that why you picked this one as a Christmas episode?
It's one of them, because I remember him being especially manipulative in this one.
Yeah.
And I like when he's like messing with people. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, because it is after he did the whole reality show Survivor type thing to get the new team. But yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, because I was like, I'm pretty sure, like it came back to me as I was watching. Like, I'm pretty sure he gave himself to everyone. Like that's what he did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Is that episode really called Merry Little Christmas?
It is.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so...
Oh, my God.
Okay, so the reason why I thought, because Alan and I talked about this morning, the reason why I thought you picked this episode was because of the prostitute and the donkey joke and the fact that you like Clerks 2 so much. That's why I thought you liked this episode. You wanted us to basically do that one, because I remember how much you loved that donkey sex joke. Like, the whole thing. Like, that's why I thought you picked it.
So looking at Merry Little go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, so I did love that. I did love the donkey part, but I forgot about the donkey part when remembering this episode. And then for whatever reason, when they were talking about Donkey Show when she came in and was like showing her rashes and stuff, I like completely lost the conversation, and then unfortunately brought out my cell phone and innocently Googled what is a donkey show, and oh boy do I regret that, because I should have known what a donkey show was. I don't know why I thought it was anything other than what I thought a donkey show was. So, damn it, House.
Merry Christmas. Your Google
Merry
search
Christmas.
results are going to be skewed for a bit.
Oh, I'm already getting Facebook ads.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Ugh.
It's weird because this is the first time I think I've gone back and watched an episode of House where Cal Penn's character was still in it.
Yeah.
Because this is before he left to go work with Obama, and they just spoilers straight up killed his character.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think about that episode, though? Because I haven't rewatched that episode, but it sticks out to me as such like a powerful episode.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where they kept it so quiet, and it just happened in the opening act.
Which is why I like it so much,
Yeah.
because honestly, that's what happens.
Uh-huh.
And I remember when I first saw that episode, to be honest, like I haven't had, I hate saying stuff like this, but like I haven't known anybody personally who's ever committed suicide, but from what I know from people who have, that's kind of the reaction. It's like, hang on, what? No, like nobody really sees it coming, and I really like how they had that set up, where they just did it, and after it happened, and I've rewatched the show so much that like whenever he comes into it, I automatically start looking for signs. Like, even though
I think even in this one you can probably see a few where he's just so excited about Christmas.
Yeah, and
the decorating.
And I don't know if they intentionally wrote that into his character to where like, hey, it's a possibility that this guy may not stay around, so we need to work on a way out.
Yeah, I mean, if you hire somebody like Cal Penn in 2007 after he had the success that was Harold and Kumar, I feel like maybe that is something they were prepared for, and maybe you've watched the show more than I have. Yeah. Are there more seeds of signs of?
This is why I like it so much. There are, but at the same time, are they? Because they make his character to be, because the one thing that they never had on that show up until they brought him in was a adult child, like a functioning adult child, like one of us. Like, they never really had a character like that, because when they go into his room, like, he has, like, comic book stuff and, like, figurines, and he's a geek, and he shows that on the show. Like, he enjoys things that he enjoys, and he's enthusiastic about it, but nobody else is. And so, so there are things that happen in the show where it's like, is this just his character to where he's just an oddball, or are they actually setting this up for him to commit suicide and for wanting people to go back and watch these episodes to try to find signs? Yeah. Because that's something that I just unintentionally do now. Whenever he's on a show that I know that's before his suicide, obviously, it's all of them, but, like, it's one of those things where I unintentionally watch, like, does he frown a little bit? Does he tell a joke and nobody really listens and he just kind of sighs? Like, I look for that type of stuff all the time, and it's like, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think, since I know how to watch House now, completely legally, like, I found a legal way of watching it.
Oh, good.
I might, like, I didn't realize I had easy access to it, so I might keep watching.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
If I can't find anything else to watch, I might just go back and put House on in the background.
That's a good call. I mean, this is one of those shows that it has moments that, like, I've only seen once, but have stuck with me the whole time. Like, the one where Wilson's wife is dying, and she has this thing where she's basically awake, but she has, like, only 5 minutes to live or something like that.
Yeah.
And, like, she's sad, and, oh, man, like, in high school, I was pretty, like, toxically masculine about a lot of stuff. That made me cry.
Yeah. Yeah, they did some really good episodes that weren't like just the regular procedural stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's one of them. The one where Omar Epps' doctor got sick and like went blind and was in quarantine.
Oh
That was
yeah.
like a two-parter. Um, yeah,
Yep.
I might just pick up the show from here and keep going.
Where was the cop that
Yes,
got
good.
sick first from the pigeon crap that was
Yeah,
in the water that was feeding the pot that he was growing
yeah.
in his apartment?
But anyway, what I was gonna
I
say,
can recite it for you if you
what
want.
well, so I'm pretty sure you're the one who went through on IMDb and put the diagnosis on each one because I looked it up for Merry Little Christmas. It's there. Like I'm pretty sure like every episode has the diagnosis at the end of the IMDb trivia.
I was waiting for
Oh,
you guys
I
to figure
love
this
it.
out. I was waiting for
Um,
you.
anything else we want to talk about with House?
How was a Christmas episode? Successful, unsuccessful? Was it like? Because I remember we had a couple Halloween episodes that were vaguely Halloween, but not really.
I think this was. I think the setting of Christmas works for this one. Like
Yeah.
I think the Secret Santa and like House's objection to Christmas is important to the episode. So like at the end when you have him walking into the church, you're like, oh my god, he's having this profound moment, and then he's just there for the donkey show in
Yep.
quotes,
The donkeys.
which
Yeah.
I thought was a great reveal. I
Yeah.
also feel like I don't know about you guys, but so I watched this on the NBC app on my Apple TV, and I feel like the song that was playing during the Christmas party wasn't the original song. Like it was just like a
Really?
it was
What
like a
song was
it
it?
was like a generic. It wasn't like any vocals. It was like generic Christmas music.
Oh, weird.
What song was playing for you guys
At what part of the show?
at the Christmas party at the end when he's walking out of the hospital? Everyone else is at the party.
Oh, I don't remember.
Was it the little drummer boy?
It might have been.
I think it was.
It just felt weird. Like it almost.
Generic.
Yeah, it felt too generic for like a show like this.
Like the Kids Bop version.
Uh huh.
Oh. Ew.
Like
I'll
they
have to watch it again.
like I don't know if it was just like a rights thing where they had something else in there and they had to replace it for the streaming, because that
Oh,
happens
maybe.
from time to time. So
Yeah.
I'm curious what
I've got to go back and watch it.
did you
I've
not
got it
watch
on
did you
Blu-ray.
watch it for this?
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
I did, but I watched it on. I watched. Was it Hulu? No.
See, I went to watch it on Hulu, but it wouldn't let me because I don't subscribe to the live.
Oh, Amazon Prime. I watched it on Amazon Prime.
Oh,
That's why
I've
I
got to
watched
go
it.
back.
Yeah, I watched it on Prime too.
Here's what I'll do. I'll watch it on Blu-ray
Uh huh.
because that's not going to have any conflicts when it comes to
it
Right.
any
might.
type
I mean,
of
it
streaming.
might. It might.
So I'll let you guys know.
See, it didn't give me
Yeah.
Prime as an option. Like, I wish I would have watched it on Prime because I had commercials.
So
Oh, that's annoying.
for me, for that episode,
Yeah.
it's more of a Christmas episode than the 30 Rock Halloween episode.
Okay.
Was
Hey, I picked a better one this time.
was Halloween.
Yeah.
But I mean, none of House's like Christmas episodes are like actual Chris. It's like they're just they're it's storylines that are based around Christmas. It's not that it's like an
Yeah.
actual like Christmas like episode. Like it's, oh, this person's liver's failing and it just happens to be December 24th. Christmas. Like
Right.
like
Right.
that's basically what it is. And it I the whole like Secret Santa thing was definitely set up really well, and they showed how House manipulates that type of stuff, which was nice to see.
Right. I mean, I feel like it had a lot of the hallmarks of a good House episode.
Yeah,
They mentioned lupus really quick and quickly denied it.
Yeah.
They like,
The
they
running gag.
manipulated the team. They had the old
Yeah.
team on there, which I liked.
Yeah, one
I
of
feel like
the
it hit a lot of the major points.
yeah one of the reasons why I got so deep into House when I was younger, like back when it first came on, it was one of the only Doctor TV like shows that were on that my dad ever liked, and he worked.
Oh.
He wasn't a doctor, he wasn't a hospital administrator, but at the time he ran an X-ray department at two different hospitals at two different
Oh.
times. So I mean, like he worked with doctors and he worked with nurses and he worked with administrators from like a third party point of view, and he hated almost every show about doctors because they tried to
Aw.
make them look like saints, and in
Right.
reality some of them are, but they're all kind of really looking out for themselves like anybody would in any workplace. And
Right.
he liked the fact that there was a show that actually made a doctor look like the way the majority of doctors look. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, House is a very like condensed version of that, but House is closer to how actual doctors are than like Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's fair. Okay, so I think that's all we've got for House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, time to take a trip to Smallville.
Somebody save me. Let your warm hands break right through. Somebody save me.
Oh, Alan.
Okay.
You guys are gonna be surprised for what I have to say. Just saying that right now.
Okay, so my pick
Good.
for. Let me pull it up. My pick was from season 5 of Smallville, episode 9, entitled Lexmas. Because get it? Alright, so in this episode, Lex Luthor gets shot and then has a dream sequence where he's with Lana Lang and living the perfect life. Meanwhile, Clark Kent is delivering presents like he's Santa Claus. So, where do we want to start with Lexmas?
Oh my god.
Okay,
So-
well, I guess before we start, have you guys ever seen an episode of Smallville before?
Never. This is my first episode of Smallville ever. It's been on the background. My dad's watched it, but I never saw an episode.
Okay.
I have seen clips of episodes back
Okay.
back when it was on TV. I'd like flip through TV. I'd be like, "Oh, this is that Superman show," and I try to watch it, and it never worked out.
Okay. I will say the first few seasons of Smallville are very high school melodrama.
Uh huh.
This is the first season where it's it's out of high school, so he's in college, and they start expanding into the Superman lore a little bit more.
Sure.
So like, Zod's a threat and Phantom Zone things are happening.
Oh, weird.
I think Brainiac's in this season, played by
That's pretty cool.
James Marsters who was Spike on Buffy.
Oh yeah.
So Smallville, in case anyone doesn't know, is pretty much the story of a young Clark Kent who is befriended by Lex Luthor when he saves his life. So Lex Luthor becomes obsessed with Clark Kent and like what his secret is, and the only thing that's weird, like one of the things that's weird about this episode is they don't have a Meteor Freak of the Week in this one. Like the big thing with Smallville was when Clark Kent landed, all this kryptonite landed with him. So the kryptonite mutated people into like mutants. So
Oh.
there's like different meta-human freaks of the week that they would have on there. Like one of them was Amy Adams at one
What?
point. Yeah, Amy Adams was on. And some of them are really weird, but they just like use kryptonite as this turns people into monsters.
Wow.
But this episode doesn't have it, but it does have like the Lex Clark dynamic to a point. So,
Uh huh.
what did you guys think?
So every part of me, like you pitched this episode as this is when Smallville gets weird, right?
Yes.
And you like gave us like the briefest of overviews of this, and I was like, man, this is going to be like a trip and a half. Like, I don't think I'm gonna like this, but I'm gonna get through it. I actually really liked it. Like, literally, in spite of everything it was trying to do to my cold, cynical heart, I really like. Oh my God, he runs into Santa trying to commit suicide and has to talk him off of a ledge. I also didn't hate it. Like, I should have. Every part of me says I need to, but I don't, and I kind of want to watch more Smallville now.
Okay, Ryan, how about you? And don't
look.
talk about the CW shows again because we already know your thoughts on that. Or
I
at
thought
least
this was filmed better than it. Like, it didn't have the
Besides-
CW filter effect.
Besides the issues I have with how TV shows are shot, and this
Yeah.
episode falls into the category as well, I will bypass all of that and just tell you how I feel about the majority of it.
Uh
This pissed me off.
huh. What? Why?
Not for the reason why you think. Not
Okay.
for the reason why you think. Both of you guys know how much I love one-off comic books.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just like how Superman lands in like Russia and like different things, how they do like one-offs.
Yeah.
I would be binging this show from this episode if they would have taken Lex Luthor's character and instead of, are we gonna get into spoilers here now? If
I
I
mean,
bring it up,
I think everyone knows Lex Luthor and Superman. Like I don't
okay.
think
So
the
at the end of the
show's
episode,
yeah.
Lex continues on his normal path to become a villain. He's given the chance to, like, this could be your life in 7 years, even though she dies in, like, childbirth. Like, this could be your life. You could be happy. This tragic thing happens, but you could be generally happy. I would be binging the rest of this if at the end of the episode they do a major life change to the character and decide, this is our own thing. Let's make Lex not the villain now. Let's actually turn him, and him and Superman, or him and whoever, will, like, be a team now. Like, take the classic villain, like Batman versus Joker, and turn it on its head. And they had they had the opportunity to do that, because I loved this episode. I loved the storyline, everything that had to do with Lex Luthor becoming, like, good, and, like, all of that, and, like, and him reacting to the family, and just kind of, like, at first he wasn't sure about it, then, like, and then getting his stride. Everything with Superman and the whole suicidal Santa man, I could deal without. Like, no. I did not like how they... That, to me, was the whole, like, oh, we're on drugs, let's write a story. Like, that's what... That's how I took that whole thing. But I really liked the Lex Luthor part, and I like that character as Lex Luthor, that actor.
Michael Rosenbaum, yeah. So one thing I will say is, the whole show is set up where Lex will be the villain one day.
Oh, yeah.
They do a really good job of this show of not, like, getting him to the edge of that point, but never really going over that edge. Like, there are things that he does that take him there over time, but not until, like, his last 2 seasons. Because he's not on the whole show.
Yeah.
He's only in the first 7 seasons. And then he left and came back for the finale. But the relationship, I think you might enjoy the relationship between him and Clark. Because for the first few seasons, they're best friends.
Oh, wow.
See, that I would enjoy.
Yeah. It's just a matter of getting through the Freak of the Week high school melodrama, stalking Lana Lang with a telescope. Like,
oh, that's bad.
What?
Yeah. Well, he talks to Santa about that a little bit. It is kind of cringy, but it was like 2001, and like they played Lifehouse during a lot of it, so it made it okay, I guess.
Yeah.
I remember that band.
So yeah, I will say Michael Rosenbaum is probably one of my favorite Lex Luthors.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's why it pissed me off, is because I thought, oh my god, this would be a great thing to, like, do their own thing and, like, change things up, and, like, because I really liked him as Lex prior to him getting shot, and I've seen other clips of him as Lex Luthor, like, later in the seasons, and so, like, just the idea of having a storyline where Lex Luthor doesn't go bad, turns back, maybe not good, but maybe, like, in the middle, kind of like a mercenary type thing where he can do bad and good, but somebody that would, like, work with Superman. I really think that would be cool. And then they could strengthen up other villains and have Superman have more, like, complicated issues and more complicated villains if Lex Luthor was actually on his side. To me, that would make things a bit more interesting. And in this episode, it was like, I know they're not going to do it, but this is setting that up, and I love that idea, and they're not going to, and I'm mad.
Okay. Devin, what about you? Any thoughts?
I mean, I love this version of Lex Luthor, and I'm completely with Ryan, where I think that part of it was the most compelling part of it. A lot of it was a little bit tropey, like, married for 7 years? We have a kid and another one on the way? Like, sure, why not?
He didn't
but, like,
actually say that.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
Stop
it was
being
like
the cynical you.
like,
He didn't actually say that.
I will say,
no, that one's on me.
What's great about his reaction to the whole thing is he's a great comic actor.
Yeah.
And it really lets him work those muscles a little bit when he doesn't really get to do that a lot on the show. Having listened to his podcast for the last 2 or 3 years, he's a really funny guy.
Is he?
Yeah. Like, if you haven't listened to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, it's fantastic because he opens every episode with or ends it with thank you for letting me be inside of you. Like, it's just that his sense of humor like really clicks with me.
Yeah.
Um, and I really like his Lex Luthor, but I also
Yeah.
really like the Clark Kent. So, like, this is my Superman.
I think the Clark Kent I'm going to need to be sold on a little bit more. I think this episode didn't give him enough to do as a Clark Kent and was more like, hey, guess what? You run fast, go run fast, and talk about this. All right, hold on. I do have to talk about this. Was this. Is this establishing that there's a Santa Claus in this version of Earth and it's a real Santa Claus and he's an alcoholic? Or was this just a really assertive homeless guy?
I okay. Um, Going off of the Freak of the Week thing,
Yeah.
maybe it's establishing that there was a homeless guy in Smallville who got a Santa Claus suit and then became like got rid of all these presents as Santa using his superpowers.
Okay, you know what? I'll buy it.
I'm just gonna say that it's Santa because it's already Superman. I mean, there's already an alien around Earth that's doing these weird things.
Yeah.
Santa's not that far of a stretch, and besides, I feel like what Santa was upset about. Like I feel like that was like I feel like that's a lot of like said right there in a few sentences. There had to have been a writer who was
I have the
Christmas. Okay, go ahead.
answer. Evidently, Santa does exist in the DC universe.
What?
According to John Constantine, the historical Santa Claus was actually so once Superman dreamed about helping Santa, including a visit to his famous toy factory at the North Pole. He woke up and the Man of Steel discovered a gift, a Kryptonian toy as no other person could have ever conceived. So yeah, I guess Santa does exist in the DC comics. Lobo,
You know what?
Lobo has done a thing about it.
There we go.
Okay,
Wow.
Superman having a dream, I'll buy. But if you're referencing him in a Lobo comic, sure, he exists.
Yep, he's definitely there then.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the writers, I feel somebody in the writers' room was. We need to think up of a way of Santa being depressed. Well, let's take the political and all this other stuff that's going on right now, and let's just have him be mad about that.
Okay,
It was so generic.
I mean, okay, yeah, I mean, this episode aired in 2005, so that was my freshman year of high school. Um, the world wasn't nearly as crazy as it is now, but
Yeah.
We were sucked into two wars.
yeah,
We had a president that, for some of his failings, I mean, really wasn't the best.
but he could dodge a shoe.
But he could dodge a
You
shoe,
can dodge a shoe.
which I'm pretty sure happened around that time.
Yeah.
Um,
So the one thing I did notice is there's one shot of the Daily Planet when I think Chloe is working. There's a shot of the Daily Planet newspaper and it says, I had to rewind and look at it. It says neighbors to north upset over NAFTA. I was like, whoa!
Whoa,
So this is around the
boy.
time NAFTA
yeah.
came into play.
Wow.
And this show was shot in Canada, so I'm wondering if that was just them kind of speaking out against it.
That's funny and probably. Wow.
They were upset about it. I remember them being upset about it.
So
Yeah.
one thing before we wrap this up that I want to touch on quick, because I haven't watched a lot of Smallville in a while,
Uh-huh.
but there's a big story that's happened with Smallville, not involving the show itself, but one of the actors.
I might know where this is going.
Do you guys know about the sex cult thing?
Isn't that like the lady that plays Lana? Like, wasn't she in a
It
sex
wasn't.
cult?
It
Like-
wasn't Lana. It was Chloe, the blonde who worked for the Daily Planet.
Oh no! What did she do?
She was like a ringmaster for this sex cult who would recruit wannabe actresses and offer them mentoring. But it was
no.
really just like a sex cult, and like there was some trafficking and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah,
That sucks.
yeah.
Oh, does it ruin the show for you at all?
it ruins that character a little bit. There's also some like
Yeah.
ironic moments that I've seen like on some meme pages on Reddit.
Oh no.
Like,
But I can't remember off the top of my head. Just like, but it's weird because I talked about Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. He just had the actress who played Supergirl in season 7 on, and
yeah.
I guess they tried to recruit her for this whole thing, the Nexum sex cult.
Does she
and
talk about it?
She talks about it a little bit. She's like, yeah, they tried to recruit me, but I didn't have the money, and it wasn't really something I was really interested in because she never really
Yeah.
talked to me when I was on the show. It's just one of those things where years later she reached out to me about this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So
Oh, that's so problematic.
it is, and yeah. So it's weird.
Yeah. Ew. Gross.
yeah, it can be. Stuff like that I'm kind of on the fence about because, like, I'll admit it, there's some movies that have some actors in it that will never make another movie again, but because
Like
of
O.J.
how-
Simpson.
What?
Like
Oh.
O.J. Simpson.
Not really O.J. Simpson. More about somebody that we talked about a little bit recently, and we were like, no. Kevin Spacey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's 2 movies that he's in that I still can't help to like, and his performance set in. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like those were the only like 2 or 3 movies that I liked prior to all that coming out either. Like I wasn't a big Kevin Spacey fan to begin with.
The problem with Kevin Spacey is he doubled down on it. He's like, okay, here's my response to the last season of House of Cards.
Yeah.
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 It's like, no, dude, you don't get. And like Bill Cosby. Let's talk about Bill Cosby for a second.
Yeah.
Because
Oh jeez.
I
It's
get-
oh.
I guess Eddie Murphy made a joke on SNL over the weekend about who's America's dad now, and Bill Cosby's people had to make a comment like, why does
And-
Bill Cosby still have people? Like
Look,
he's
the
in
Right.
thing
jail.
is, like Bill
That's like-
Cosby had one of my favorite stand-ups ever. The one where he's just sitting in a chair talking about family life.
Yeah.
I used to watch that religiously. I don't anymore because I can't.
The problem is like why are we still giving the press to Bill Cosby? Like just let it die. Like don't
Right.
like they can release a statement. Don't publish it. Like he's convicted. He doesn't get the PR anymore. Like this is not how this works.
Right. They don't need to hear from him.
Yeah. Anyway,
Bless you.
Smallville.
It didn't
loved
go
it.
over the mic. I said bless you because Devin sneezed, but then I realized no sound was coming over the mic.
I tried. I muted like a
That's
like
good.
a normal
That's
person.
That's good.
But no,
Make me
I
look
really
like
like
a
this
fool.
episode of Smallville, and if Lex is this compelling, I'll watch more.
Yeah, I would definitely
Yeah.
recommend going back and watching from the beginning. It is a little slow to be. There are 3 phases to Smallville. There's the high school years, which we skipped. This falls into the college years, which is like 2 or 3 seasons, and then it gets right into like more Superman lore stuff.
Yeah.
So you get Zod and the city of Kandor. Supergirl comes in.
I'd like that.
Doomsday. There's a whole season with Zod. They do the Justice Society of America at one point. They bring
weird.
they bring in the Justice League. Oliver Queen's a character. Like it gets really comic booky in season 6 and 7.
Like Oliver Queen, like the same one from the Arrowverse, or different one?
Different
Just
one.
like the character.
It's Justin Hartley from This Is Us.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, so they do the Justice League. Season 5 is where the show gets really good. So
Oh, and one thing I want to say before we leave on that, I now understand why Lex is so screwed up as he is.
oh yeah, Lionel.
His dad.
His dad is a fascinating character.
His dad is
Yeah.
so weird, like a scruffy guy.
You've seen him before in things.
Have I?
He is the Riddler in the Batman animated series.
Interesting.
He was also the scientist in Batman and Robin, who's responsible for Poison Ivy and Bane.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that guy.
that's why he looked familiar.
Yeah. He shows up in like DC everything.
Yeah.
So what I recommend you guys do is watch Smallville, and then go to Michael Rosenbaum's podcast because he's had pretty much everyone from the show on there except for Allison Mack, the sex
Yeah.
cult thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it.
I think the only person he hasn't really had on yet is Erica Durant, who played Lois.
Okay.
Okay.
I will say my favorite moment of this whole episode is there's a lot of the show is Lex trying to impress Jonathan Kent. Like Clark is all for Lex. Like they are such good friends to the point where my wife wants them to just get it over with and have sex when we watch Smallville. But Jonathan Kent hates Lex the whole series. Like he never trusted Luthor, doesn't like Lionel, doesn't like Lex, just doesn't give him the light of day.
Yeah.
In the whole everything in the whole dream sequence, that moment where he has Jonathan, where he's just like, "You're the best man I've ever met," just seeing his reaction to that, because that's all he's ever really wanted. Because he looks at him as more of a father figure than his own dad for reasons. I just thought that was a really strong moment. So I just wanted to bring that up quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So-
there were a lot of good, compelling moments on the Lex side of this episode. I think.
So how's this fit as a Christmas episode? I mean, it has Santa.
It's more of a Christmas episode than the House episode.
Okay.
I agree. I agree completely.
Because the house episode didn't have Santa.
Well,
Yours had 2 Santas. Mine had 1.
yeah,
Mine had none,
Yeah.
and one of my Santas was Bender.
Yeah.
which makes it way better. I think Futurama was the best Christmas episode, most Christmassy Christmas episode we watched.
So, what is the next special that we do?
Well, we can't
Valentine's
do these. Well, Valentine's Day. How many episodes? Ooh, Futurama has one.
Oh,
I'm all for that.
you can't repeat back to back.
What?
No,
Same show?
That's a rule. You can't do the same show back to back.
Well, then we
The
can't
point
do
of
a
these,
special
the point of these
until Halloween.
is,
Can't do special.
well, there's other holidays. The point of these is to get us to watch shows that the other ones haven't watched, because you can't
Yeah.
really, like, if we did a TV series, it wouldn't work for this format of the show, because we need like a week to watch a whole series.
Okay, here's the problem that I have with this whole thing, and I told you this kind of this morning.
Yeah.
I told Alan this kind of this morning. I think the reason why I have an issue with like the way TV shows are shot and like the whole filter thing is because I went from watching Saturday morning cartoons like X-Men, Dragon Ball Z, stuff like that, and I jumped directly into Discovery Channel, History Channel, and TLC. Like I went from watching cartoons to documentaries. And
Yeah.
I never had that time where I watched like TV shows around that time, except for like maybe House or a few other ones.
This is like the demonstrations at a Sam's Club. You just get a taste, and if you want more, you can go back for it. If you don't want it, you just keep walking down the aisle.
But I mean, like at the same time, I don't know what to give you guys to watch because, like I said, that's like I can give you
Ask
something
your
from
wife.
the History Channel to watch. Give you something from the
I'll watch a History Channel Valentine's Day episode.
the history of candy hearts. There we go.
Yeah, you know what? I think that would be so compelling. Show us how it's made. Show us an episode of how it's made.
It's bone marrow and sawdust. I mean, that's what it's made
It's
out of.
bone marrow?
And sawdust.
Ew.
It's a Futurama joke. It's a Futurama
Yeah.
joke.
I was latching onto that as truth.
All right, so that notification sound was Devin sending an article of Valentine's episodes. Okay, so we'll do a Valentine's special.
Yes.
I thought we were gonna do movies for that month. Like,
I mean, we did movies for holidays this month too.
oh, that's true.
We can fit them all in.
I just need to find a Valentine's episode. Ooh, I got it. I got one. I got one already.
Good.
I don't know how we're gonna find it, but I got
Oh, we'll
one.
find it.
The Star Wars Valentine's Day special.
Oh, I hope that's not a thing. Please don't let that be a thing.
Hosted by Luke and Leia.
No, hosted by Lando Calrissian and Colt 45. On that note, we're going to wrap up the holiday special because we've got another podcast to record for you guys tonight that will be dropping later this week. So stay tuned for our review of Rise of Skywalker, which we have managed to go 53 minutes without talking about for somehow. So for you who have to watch this podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
Merry Christmas. We'll see you later this week.
That was quick.